Hi, I'm Linz. Welcome to Becoming Everwell, a channel where we talk about the ongoing journey of becoming. On today's Life Learning episode for Midlife You, we are going to demystify the eye-rolling buzzword, passion.
I make sense of life by writing about real everyday stuff that makes us who we are. Some of these snapshots are fun, some are more serious. Maybe they'll open up something in you too. Let's grow.
Depending on one's mood, the idea of living with passion might feel like the yummiest idea ever, or alternatively, it might make you want to roll your eyes. Am I right? Passion is a buzzword, and it lands differently for all of us. I recently spoke to a group of moms on the topic of living passionately, and I was moved by the collective relief that the group seemed to experience after I demystified the idea of living with passion. So I've decided to share part of my talk with you here. I've just read Never Enough by Jennifer Wallace. It's about the toxicity of achievement culture, this never-ending quest to be the best, specifically when it comes to our kids' academics, sports, performances, etc. Wallace primarily focuses on highly competitive communities, and she writes in particular about the college pursuit process. She references a student from a high-achieving high school in Brooklyn who describes how kids fake passions and fake personalities to get accepted to college, which actually takes them away from who they really are. Fake passions, fake personalities for status. She goes on to talk about parents and how the mothers of middle school kids in competitive communities, especially those without meaningful hobbies or fulfilling jobs, are particularly at risk for anxiety and depression and have the highest levels of stress, loneliness, and emptiness, as well as the lowest levels of life satisfaction and fulfillment. This all struck me as alarming because I'm sure of two definitive ways to not live passionately, and those are 1, by faking it, and 2, by feeling empty. I've learned firsthand that the word passion elicits a visceral response for many. For some, the minority I'll note, passion ignites an immediate electrical connection between themselves and their very obvious source of fulfillment. For many, the vast majority, the notion of passion brings on a very different response. Statistically, according to the work of Stanford University professors Bill Burnett and Dave Evans in Designing Your Life, 80% of people of all ages don't really know what they are passionate about. That's most of us. When I spoke to over 20 different women as I created the content for my online course, Self School, which is a course designed for midlife moms wanting to figure out what lights them up in their pursuit of what's next, professionally and personally, I asked these women what comes up when they think of passion. A number of pain points surfaced, like pressure to have a passion, shame about not having a passion, envy of people with passion, overwhelm at the thought of figuring out one's passion, frustration at society's notion that we need one's supreme passion, embarrassment that an existing passion isn't worthy of pursuit, guilt that pursuing a passion is perceived as a luxury, fear that in pursuing passion one could face rejection or failure, or worst of all, indifference. So passion is layered, my friend, and it's become shame-inducing, envy-inducing, and pressure-inducing. Yikes. I suspect that part of the reason that so many people don't really know what they're passionate about is because passion's reputation has too much power, and for many, passion feels unattainable. The dictionary defines passion as a powerful, compelling, or strong feeling, which is, arguably, intense. So I'd like to redefine passion to make it more approachable. There are two definitions of passion that I like most. First, from social entrepreneur Dr. Noeline Kirabu's TED Talk, passion is the collection of your life experiences that give you the most fulfillment. I like the word collection in this definition, this idea that passion comes from a combination of things, not necessarily one specific or huge thing. And I notice the words that give you the most fulfillment. The word fulfillment speaks to me, but for many, it's too powerful, like passion is. So what is fulfillment? Fulfillment is an aspirational word that really just means a sense of satisfaction. Shifting the language that defines passion to satisfaction certainly, for me, unloads a lot of pressure. And what gives you the most fulfillment in your life is simply relative to everything else in your life. There is absolutely zero sense in comparing ourselves to others when it comes to passion because it's all subjective. It's simply a comparison of the experiences within your own life. Sure, you might know someone who's lit up with passion, and you might be aware that you don't feel that way about any one thing at the moment. You're attracted to the way they feel and how they express it. But their life is a colorful tapestry that is entirely different from your life, which is also a colorful tapestry. They've simply made some connections within themselves, and you're privy to their expression of it, and you like it. If you feel envy, it likely means that you want to connect those dots within yourself as well. The other definition of passion that I like is by Angela Lee Ducksworth, who's a psychologist, researcher, and the author of Grit. She describes that passion is a commitment that comes from having interest in what you do. I love the word commitment in this definition because it implies that passion can grow where we decide to dedicate our energy and time. Years ago, I heard an NPR interview that I can't cite because I haven't been able to relocate it. If you know it, please note it in the comments. And the woman being interviewed gave an unusual perspective on arranged marriages that stuck with me. She said that in many cultures, marriages begin at a boil, meaning the love is bubbling over, romance is steamy, the connection between the two getting married is fiery. And with time, many of those relationships simmer down and eventually get comfortably lukewarm. And sometimes, eventually, they cool off or even freeze. Whereas her experience had been that in her arranged marriage, she and her spouse started off cool as strangers to each other. And over the course of their lifelong marriage, their connection got warmer and eventually grew into a boil. In their elder years, which was the vantage point from which she spoke, she described her marriage as a full-on boil. So applying that concept to passion, maybe passion really is the result of the commitment more than anything else. Perhaps for you, long-term commitment to an interest of yours will lead you to a passion. I also love how Duckworth says that passion comes from having interest. Having interest, again, a simple language reframe. Having an interest is not pressure-inducing like having a passion is. I am certain that we all could name a few interests. So, interest plus commitment equals passion, according to Duckworth. My brain took these two definitions and combined them into one straightforward concept. Passion comes from committing to life experiences that interest and satisfy you. For me, this idea of committing to life experiences that interest and satisfy you seems much more approachable and concrete than the lofty, abstract idea of going forth and living passionately in a way that fulfills you. I'll note that intellectually, the two ideas mean the same thing, but the language of one definition just makes more room for the 80% of us who are searching for passion's on-ramp. So now that we've redefined passion, consider reframing your relationship to passion. Let's play here and imagine that your passion has a voice. She has a perspective. How would your passion describe your treatment of her? Might she feel grateful that you've recognized her and allowed her to have a prominent seat in your life? Might she feel stressed at the pressure you put on her to perform? Might she be frustrated that you're constantly judging her and comparing her to other people's passion? I mean, she's never even met other people's passions. She lives in you by herself and is completely dependent on you to give her a chance to thrive. Might she be sad that you're already disappointed in her when she doesn't feel like she's actually had a chance to become what she's capable of becoming? And for you multi-passionates out there, meaning those of you who are passionate about so much that it's hard to focus, is your passion happy with her great variety of love interests? Or might she be interested in settling in and committing somewhere? We put so much pressure on passion to show up for us, to lead the way, to give our lives meaning and purpose. And I'm not sure it's fair to our passions or to ourselves. Perhaps we need to show up for passion differently. Perhaps we need to come up with a revised relationship that we want to consciously nurture with passion. That's a seed for you to reflect on, for real. Finally, let's consider why passion matters. Why do authentic interests that satisfy you, aka real passions, matter? Why don't we want to fake it, whether it's on a college application or in adulthood? Here's why. When we commit to interests that satisfy us, aka passions, we have the chance to matter. And mattering, as it turns out, according to Wallace and many other researchers before her, is a key ingredient to a meaningful, fulfilling life. And when I say matter, I am not talking about achievements or performance. I'm talking about what Wallace describes as the feeling that we are valued and add value to others. It matters to matter. It matters to feel in your bones that you are valued because of who you are, not because of what you can do. Here's how it works. When we are driven by passion, we engage authentically. That authentic connection is infectious and impacts those around us in powerful, potentially profound ways. To internalize this, reflect on how it's felt for you to matter in your own life outside of your home. I did this, and outside of my home, I think the first time that I realized that I mattered was in 4th grade as a new student at my Connecticut elementary school, having just moved to town from California. Back in those days, the kids with significant intellectual differences were all grouped into one special education classroom together. That was literally written on the door. And my teacher, whose name was Mr. Lindsay, had a son named JP with Down syndrome, who was a student in that classroom. When I arrived to my 4th grade class, I'd come from a school with a different curriculum, so the academics were a bit of a breeze for me. Mr. Lindsay picked up on this, so one day he asked me if I'd like to go be a teacher's helper in the special education classroom. I liked the idea, as I'd always felt an inner pull towards kids with intellectual differences. And I'd been playing school and pretending to be a teacher in my bedroom since preschool. Quite literally, a chalkboard and chalk and an eraser decorated my childhood bedroom. Being a teacher's helper intrigued me, so off I went. And that turned into a regular routine for me. Every Wednesday, instead of reporting to Mr. Lindsay's class, I reported to JP's special education classroom, and I loved it. I loved what it opened inside of me. New learning, compassion, leadership, positive energy, and I adored that the kids received me with such animated joy. I became their friend, and they made it entirely obvious to me with their words and affections that I mattered. And because I mattered to them, I felt satisfied, fulfilled, happy, and I became passionate about this population of people. That passion led to a rich volunteer life with neurodivergent adults throughout my high school experience, and the passion is still alive inside of me today. So, it matters to matter. The positive ripple effect of mattering is hard to measure, but it's undoubtedly apparent. And although passion does not always correlate to mattering, living passionately gives us a really good chance to matter, and that's entirely meaningful for our evolving spirits. Okay, now, a tool to find a passion, a tip to trick passion, and a way to trust passion. Are you ready? Okay, first, the tool. Okay, you have a superpower when it comes to discovering your passion. Did you know that? A built-in superpower to give you more information about what's going on inside of you and what lights you up. And it's more obvious than you might think. It's your curiosity. Your curiosity is your superpower. Your curiosity is the living, breathing flicker of light within you, always. I encourage you to keep a written curiosity log. This is a tool that I use in self-school, and I encourage you to devote time to completing it. As I see it, there are 4 ways to go deeper with familiarizing yourself with your natural curiosity. The first one is to note how you wonder. Now, to wonder, that is to marvel, admire, be amazed, or in awe. We wonder all the time about validity, our doubts, the magic, the unknown. For me, for example, I constantly wonder about why people are the way that they are. It is an endless topic of intrigue for me. I have a partner who wonders about how things work, how they operate, how broken things can be recycled and revitalized. What do you wonder about? Then the second thing, note how you research. Research, it's inquiry, investigation, discovery, digging. We research all kinds of things to better understand, to solve a problem, to make a sound decision, to clarify something. For some, they research gear. For others, it's topics. For others, it's history. There is no container for all the topics of research that can be done. What do you always seem to want to know more about? Third, note how you seek. So to seek, that is to search for, to discover, to uncover, to go to. Seeking, in my book, is more connecting to longing and desire than the other categories of curiosity are. Often, seeking can be linked to a desire for truth, or connection, or love, or acceptance, or faith. Seeking is generally a long-term quest. For me, continuing on the topic of people, I seek out meaningful connection with thoughtful people. Always. In what ways do you seek? And finally, note how you educate. To educate is to teach, explain, inform, influence, inspire, help, guide. Even if you're not a teacher by trade, you educate others in big and small ways. What do you feel compelled to put out there into the world or into the lives of others because you know about it or understand it or believe in it? Again, my hope is that you will take ample time to log your natural curiosities. And in doing so, I encourage you to accept yourself. Avoid judgment and editing. Mundane, quirky, risque curiosities, it's all relevant information. Your curiosity is a collection of road signs offering you so many clues in pursuit of your passion. Now, how to trick passion. We all have days and seasons when living passionately feels impossible, maybe even undesirable. So what to do when you're feeling low on passion? Well, intellectually, we know that a spark of passion will uplift us when we're not feeling passionate about anything. So I say, trick passion. As you know, meaningful connection with people is a big part of what lights me up. So in micro ways, I choose to create glimmers of kindness for others. Small things, like while driving my kids to school, I'll let other cars into the horrid line of traffic at every chance. By giving that other parent an in, they feel grateful. I can tell by their waves and smiles as they're trudging along. I also know this because I feel it when people make way for me. It feels good. In a tiny way, I feel seen and like I matter in their morning commute. Or I'll give a compliment to a stranger and enjoy their surprise at receiving it. Or I'll go out of my way to be helpful for a stranger in a shared space. Choosing to create glimmers of kindness with strangers when I'm feeling down is like a little effort to ignite my passion through my connections with other people. Because my experience has proven to me that when you show kindness, people generally show it back. And that little bit of a spark could be just what I need to light up my inner self for a bit. It might get me on the path of passion for that whole day. Okay, finally, a way to trust passion. You know how there are those notebooks everywhere, especially at Home Goods and Target, with the slogan, "Follow your passion" on the cover? Well, I think that's all well and good if you're clear on your passion and if you're in the mood to follow it. But the powerful thing about having a spiritual construct, as the humans we are, is that we can turn to our faith in the universe, God, Spirit, Mother Earth, or whatever term you like best for a higher power. We always have the option to release some control, go on and lead our lives, and trust that passion will find and follow you. Think about that for a moment. Living life with faith in a higher power is inherently living passionately because the universe loves you. The universe has your back. The universe wants you to feel fulfilled and light-filled. by putting ourselves into spaces where we trust that the higher power is at work, like in a special group gathering, or at a worship service, or at a soup kitchen, or at a concert, or at a whole host of other places. We are choosing to live in a way that allows passion to find us. Now, I get that this all sounds really nice, but to drive the point home, I wanted to share an example of how the universe has found me passion. When I was 6 months pregnant with my third child, a woman in my community reached out to see if we could have tea. She expressed wanting to talk with me about a new committee. Because my other kids were little, I invited her over during their nap time. When she saw me, she gasped a little bit. She hadn't known I was pregnant. Her intention was to pitch a hearty volunteer role to me, and it seemed that she wouldn't have asked me if she'd known I was close to childbirth. But this adult spirituality education committee that she floated intrigued me, and I decided to join her on the committee. On that committee, I made friends. I actually met the man who I later introduced to my sister, and they are now married with a 4-year-old. Also, my faith grew, as did my connection to my faith home, which has become the most valuable community in my adult life. The leader who headed the committee asked me to co-lead an 8-part series called Parenting with Faith. I couldn't understand why she'd want me to help her, but out of curiosity, I said yes. She introduced me to the work of Brené Brown, which changed my life and lit within me a fiery passion to consume more work like hers, to learn more about the human condition. The series enabled me to experience teaching in small groups with adult students, and I became passionate about that. I'd been a high school English teacher before motherhood, but I hadn't conceptualized teaching adults until that experience. The series inspired me to lead workshops out of my home, which fueled my passion for educating and gathering women. From that, I was inspired to build a new professional life for myself alongside parenthood. I started a business, and my business has reignited my passion for a writing practice. I've known writing was my passion since elementary school, but in reality, I had not been writing in any kind of a committed way since college. I can't possibly predict or even imagine how much more passion will come from the universe finding me to join that committee in 2014. So, that's all to say that by allowing yourself to have faith in a higher power, you can surrender some control and wholeheartedly trust that the universe is at work in your life, and passion, if it hasn't already, will find you. Let's keep growing. Thanks for being here. You matter. And the fact that you've made it all the way to the end of this says something about what you're looking for in your life. I'm Lindsay Hurdy. You can learn all about me and what I offer at my website, lindsayhurdy.com, but more specifically my Substack. That is where all my writing lives, and I'm most proud of that space. lindsayhurdy.substack.com. Find me there. It's a wonderful growing community. But more than anything, I hope you go on to live into the passion that exists in your life. Until next time.
Be sure to like and subscribe and click that bell to get alerts for new posts. I'd be ever grateful.